That is why Benjamin Franklin and Thomas Jefferson wanted the American seal to depict the Jews leaving Egypt. Just as the Jews left Egypt, we Americans left Europe. Half of America, or at least one of its parties, wants us to return to Europe. That is the end of Americanism as we know it, to return to Europe and its values. We do not believe in equality as a result, as a value. Inequality from birth, yes, but of result, no. This country believes in a freedom that no one talks about anymore. It's called the freedom to fail. If there is no freedom to fail, then there isn't real freedom. That is one of the best things you or your children could ever have, is a failure. If you can't fail, if the state will take care of you at all times and make it impossible for you to fail, you will never grow up. You will remain a child. This is a civilization, American civilization, of grown-ups. Not anymore. It's profoundly childish, unfortunately, because it has abandoned the ability to fail. Failure is not permitted. That's why my son got trophies for losing. I was opposed to my son getting trophies for losing. Losers don't get trophies. They get a handshake. And that is the way it has always been in America. But in the therapeutic culture that we live, keeping people childlike, that is no longer the case. And so you're not allowed to lose. Massachusetts banned even keeping score in soccer games for little kids, lest they feel bad if they lose. I could tell you as a male, I would feel much worse if I couldn't lose than I would if I lost. The idea that the score was rigged, how emasculating that is. I'm just speaking as a male because males do like competition. We prefer the ability to lose. But a feminized society where we feel pity on our child who loses is a different society than the one of American individualism, which is part of our exceptionalism that I will come to. The third part of the Trinity is in God we trust. We have a system that entirely is based on the belief that there is a God to whom we are morally accountable. Otherwise, liberty does not work. Liberty does, here, I'll tell you a rule. I studied totalitarianism. My graduate work was at the Russian Institute at Columbia University. And I really know totalitarianism well. It's a rather arcane, almost bizarre major, but I'm thrilled I majored in it because the totalitarian temptation runs deep in human beings. And I can tell you this, if you either have a people who believe in an accountability to God, or they will be an accountability to the state. As secularism increases, the state increases. That is a major reason why Europe have such large states, why they are nanny states, why they are so enormous. And same in America. As you get more secular, there are always exceptions, you get a greater belief in government. Because the religious believe that people can be good if they are accountable to God. But if there's no God to be morally accountable to, you better be accountable to the state. So the state takes over where religion has abandoned. So Europe has big states because it's the most secular place in the world. And this is what is exactly the recipe for America. You remove God as the accountable to party, and you make the government in lieu of God. God is central to the American experiment. It cannot work without God. I'm sorry. There are beautiful atheists. There are despicable believers. That's a fact. That's not my point. The point is a society will not function, not individuals. There are great atheists, but it's of no interest to me. There were great people who believed that the world resided on the back of a turtle, but you can't build a good society on the belief that the world rests on a turtle. We are living in cut flower ethics. The ethics of America and the West were rooted in Judeo-Christian scripture and values. When you remove the Judeo-Christian soil, when you take those flowers out of that soil, they will wither and die. They look like they can live, but they will die, and they do. This is a major danger in our society. That's why In God We Trust is the only thing inscribed in that great hall where the President of the United States gives the address to Congress. I was there when President Obama gave his address on health care a couple of months ago. And I did not know this because I had never been in that chamber where the joint sessions of Congress take place. There is only one thing chiseled in the gorgeous marble of that chamber, on that side of the chamber where the President stands. Over the head of the President and the Vice President and the Speaker of the House is chiseled in gigantic letters, "In God We Trust." That is fundamental to the United States of America. You can be an atheist and acknowledge that. I don't demand that people believe in God, but I do demand that Americans understand that the American experiment is impossible if God is removed. It is God, liberty, and e pluribus unum. That's exceptional. Individualism is exceptional. The belief that we are responsible for ourselves. The greatest rabbi of the Talmud, Hillel, put it very simply, Im ein ani li mili, if I am not for myself, who will be for me? V'imani la'atzmi ma'ani, but if I am only for myself, what am I? That is considered the basic principle of leading a good life. You must first take care of yourself, and then you must take care of others. The notion that the state will take care of me is indeed un-American. It is a bad idea. It doesn't raise good people. That's why Americans give more charity and volunteer more time than Europeans, per capita and per income. Because we were raised on the belief that we take care of ourselves and our fellow human being, our parents, our children, our neighbors. But if the state takes care of them, you know what you then worry about? What Europeans worry about. How much time vacation will I have this year? That's the great issue in much of European life, because everything is taken care of, including me. Individualism is a totally noble idea. It is not selfishness, it is altruism to take care of yourself and not have others take care of you. This was a great, great innovation, too, for our exceptionalism. And finally, yes, we believe in our exceptionalism that we have better values than international bodies. We think that the U.S. will do more good than the UN, than the European Union, than the World Court, or than Amnesty International. If you think the United Nations is a greater repository of moral advocacy and doing good, then fine, then you don't believe in American exceptionalism. You believe that a Human Rights Council headed by Sudan is a good idea. You believe that a Human Rights Council that has Saudi Arabia on it is a fine, fine idea and will somehow advance human rights on this planet. The U.S. is a far greater institution for moral advance of humanity than the UN. And that is a belief in American exceptionalism. Not because we are inherently better. There are twits in America and there are beautiful people everywhere on earth. The statement isn't that there is some, first of all, there couldn't be a racial component because there's no American race. So the very notion that Americans may know better cannot possibly be racial or ethnic chauvinism because there is no American race and there is no American ethnicity. It's the fact that we have been guided by a better idea, have been, but there's no guarantee, none whatsoever, that the next generation will be guided by this idea. And that is why we have to teach it. And when it is taught, we will make a better world. And if it is forgotten, the world will descend into a cruelty unlike any ever seen before, because the barrier between more genocide, more evil, and what we have now is the United States of America and its belief in its exceptionalism. Thank you very much.